A gentleman interested in weight loss goes to his nutritionist and says, I need help. What can I do to lose weight? And the nutritionist says, well, first of all, you have to go on a 1200 calories a day diet. And the person says, okay, but what do I eat at night? In this video, I'm going to share with you what I have done for over 30 years now to keep my weight pretty much constant. I'm Dr. Gili. I'm a practicing internal medicine physician. I'm also a nutritionist. And over the last few decades, I've spent a fair amount of time studying what it takes to hit that sweet spot where you don't starve yourself, you don't have to count your calories, you don't have to feel miserable, and yet your weight doesn't keep creeping higher and higher and higher on the scale with every passing season. And today I'm going to share with you the core 7 principles that I have been following and that I preach to my patients on a routine basis. So make yourself comfortable. It won't be long, maybe about 10 minutes or so. But I promise you, of all the things out there, and there's a lot of confusion, this is what I have found to be the most solid, the most evidence-based, and the most sustainable way to keep somebody's weight under control. So let's go through the list point by point. Number 1, no added sugar. Now, this is hard to do for a lot of people, and I have a sweet tooth myself also. Even yesterday, I remember at work, my nurse told me, hey, you know, these guys had brought some sweets in the room if you want to go and get some. And I said, no, I'd rather not. She said, like, don't you ever eat these things? And I said, listen, I do have a sweet tooth just like anybody else, but I disciplined myself over the years to try to avoid putting added sugar on a regular basis in my diet, unless it's a very special occasion or something, once a week with family or something like that. And this includes added sugar that you add in your own food, but also when you go out and eat. You know, a lot of the stuff that we go and eat in the restaurant or at the fast food outfit has a lot of added sugar. I'll give you a trivial example. Ketchup has a lot of added sugar in it. The second principle, no added fat. Now, this is less popular because we live today in a world where the low carb, high fat, high animal food diets are popular, and they are promoted as beneficial for weight loss because they inhibit your appetite, they are high in protein, and this and that and everything else. But the reality is, and that has not changed, that a gram of fat has 9 calories, whereas a gram of sugar has only 4 calories. So if we avoid added sugar, and we should do so, and I started my list with that, we have at least 2 times as many reasons to avoid added fat as we do for sugar. And again, I'm not saying never touch any sugar, never touch or add any fat in your diet, but as a principle, as a rule of conduct, as a rule of cooking and selecting recipes and outfits and places to go to eat, and when you look on the menu when you go there, these 2 principles will serve you very well. The third principle, which is crucial, is to eat a predominantly or even exclusively plant-based diet, meaning simply that all the foods or most of the foods that you eat should come from plants. There are many reasons behind this recommendation. I'm going to share with you today one that was published just a few years ago in the heat of the COVID pandemic, where they took a bunch of folks and they conducted what it's called a metabolic study. This is a study where these people spent 4 weeks in the research facility, 24 hours a day. They ate meals prepared by researchers, and they divided them randomly, 2 weeks at a time, to be in a group that either ate low-fat, high-carb diet, high plant food diet, versus a low-fat, high-carb diet. And then after 2 weeks, the groups were switched around, so each group served as its own control afterward. And there are many interesting findings in this study, but one that is very relevant to our discussion today is the rate at which calories were going in during mealtime for these folks. On an animal-based diet, predominantly animal-based diet, they were eating in excess of 44, 45 calories per minute. On a plant-based diet, they were ingesting about 32, 33 calories per minute. For the average person, when they sit down at a table to have a meal, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for them to reach satiety, to feel full. let's say on average 25 minutes. I think in the study I just quoted it was 22 minutes for those folks. In 22 minutes, if you eat 45 calories per minute versus 33 calories per minute, it makes a big difference. In fact, it's a difference of about 300 calories per meal. And if you averaged out between two main meals a day, let's say, you get north of 500 calorie deficit on a plant-based diet compared to an animal-based diet. Again, in this lab setting, highly controlled research facility. I should also mention that in this study, both meals were prepared by skilled people. They were very palatable, and participants rated them equally in terms of how appealing they were. So it wasn't that the plant foods were horrible and they just didn't like to eat them and they gorged on the animal-based meals. So what does that mean? Well, if you save 500 plus calories a day by switching to a plant-based diet in 1 week alone, an overweight or an obese person should lose a pound of body weight. This is huge, folks, and this is why across the board, when you look at studies comparing vegetarians or plant-based eaters to omnivores. In large population studies, for example, in the Adventist Health Study 2, the body mass index goes consistently up with the amount of animal-based foods that these subgroups ate. And why would a plant-based diet facilitate weight loss or a more healthy weight? There are many reasons. I'm just going to mention a couple here. One is the caloric density. Per unit of weight and volume, there are less calories in plant foods than there are in animal foods. And this is pretty obvious for most people. The implications of this are paramount for weight loss. For one thing, as we eat during those 20-25 minutes, the higher volume, the higher fiber content in plant foods expand the stomach volume. And that sends a signal to our brain that we're full. And the satiety signals happen a bit sooner and are more convincing, so to speak, for the body. Secondly, if you eat, for example, green leafy vegetables, they have thylakoids in them. I made a video on how these thylakoids in leafy foods inhibit appetite in a manner similar to some of the most popular and effective weight loss products on the market today, such as Ozempic or Orlistat. Please watch that video. I go into a lot more detail there than I can do it here. And there are many other reasons. I will address those in a future video. Let me know in the comment section if you want to do that. And by the way, if you haven't pressed that like button yet, please do so. It'll help this channel and motivate me to produce more materials for you like this one. Now, some of you may say, Doc, plant foods. I mean, chocolate is mostly plant-based, right? Unless you add milk to it. Tobacco is plant-based. Alcohol is plant-based. Sugar comes from plants. Am I advocating those things? First of all, remember the first two principles. Added sugar is a problem. But most importantly, not all plant foods are equal. So my fourth principle that I follow and recommend for weight loss is, yes, plant-based diet, but eat most of your foods in as close to their natural state as possible. What does that mean? You keep the fiber in. So you eat the apple, not just the apple juice, and you eat the whole grain like brown rice or whole grain bread rather than white flour, you see? So those things make a big difference on the long term, and they are very important. It's a key component of this program if you want to be successful, because I have seen many patients who switched to a plant-based diet, but they went so heavy on simple carbohydrates and refined products that they never lost any weight. The fifth principle, the last meal of the day should be at least 4 hours before bedtime. Why is this important? Well, there are many studies showing that the sooner in the day we eat our calories, the less likely it is for them to become body fat. There are studies in China and elsewhere showing that as long as you eat most of your daily calories before 3 p.m., you stand to lose weight for the same number of calories eaten in a day. There are physiological reasons for that. I'm not going to go into those today, but just remember, eat your last meal as early as possible. Now, besides diet, exercise obviously is very important. There is this joke about a person who decides to start running in the morning, and they say, man, I never thought I had it in me to go out and run in the morning every morning. And indeed, I don't. So they never did it. Now, there's many ways of exercising. When I was younger, when I was going to medical school in Romania, I didn't have a car, so I would ride public transportation. But going with the bus from where I lived to medical school or to the hospitals where I had my rotations was a very physically intensive process. I wasn't sitting on a chair watching out the window. The bus was packed. Oftentimes you have to travel on the stairs of the bus, hang it for dear life to a pole inside the bus and try to make it to the next station to where you could hopefully advance a little more inside the bus. And it involves a lot of walking, easily in excess of an hour, maybe 2 hours a day of such activities. After I moved to the United States, one of the shocks that I experienced was how little exercise people are forced to do here. And the key word here is forced. We have the conveniences of modern life. We have washing machines, we have dishwashers, we have cars that we drive everywhere. And here's what I've done after I came here in recent times. You know, I live in a relatively small town. For most of the year when the weather is nice, I bike to work. And that gives me about 12-15 minutes one way. So I get about half an hour of biking on a work day just by doing that. And then if I take another half an hour of walking at the end of the day with my family, boom, I get my hour. Now in the winter time, on weekend days, like on a Sunday, I would go to the ski hill close to us and I could spend there 6-7 hours skiing. So you can find whatever works for you. You don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. and walk or run for an hour if that doesn't work for you. You can go to your local gym. Find the type of exercise that works for you and be consistent with it. Look at it as medicine. It's not just good for weight loss. But you know, we oftentimes go when we have some chronic condition, high blood pressure or diabetes or heart disease or whatever it is. We go once a year, we go every 3 months sometimes to our doctor and we get our medicine and we go to the pharmacy and we refill those and we take them religiously. But when it comes to exercise, it seems like it's optional. So I oftentimes tell my patient, I say, listen, above and beyond all these medications that you take for diabetes, for example, you have to do your exercise. This is your daily medicine. Look at it that way. It's not optional. It's not a luxury. Your body craves it. Your body is deficient in it. And if you don't do it, you are going to pay a price that no medicine in the world is going to compensate for. Now, I'm not trashing medicine. It's important. I prescribe it all the time. But this is a relative value discussion here, okay? And here's the last and perhaps the most important point of this discussion, and that has to do with motivation. None of the things that I mentioned so far are going to stick, are going to have a lasting impact unless and until you find the secret, the key to keep yourself motivated to do these things. What is it in it for you? Why are you trying to lose weight? Just to look good at this next wedding that your son or daughter is having? Or, you know, for people to say nice compliments about, oh, you look like you lost some weight. Those are good beginning, superficial motivating factors. But deep beneath those, you have to dig deeper and find the more important, the more lasting, the more rewarding reasons for you to lose weight. They may have to do with health. They may have to do with efficiency in terms of the mission that you have in life, that you want to be able to continue to engage in well beyond your early life. And I have made a video not too long ago about this. Please go and watch it, how to boost your motivation for weight loss. Well, friends, I hope that what I presented to do was helpful. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I appreciate if you did so or press the like button. And I would really appreciate if in the comment section below you would share with me the tips that helped you control your weight over the years. And until next time, you stay healthy and you stay slim, my friend.